my name is Eli McCullen, and I'm here to talk to you about budgeting your paycheck. I'm from the May Center, and I oversee the financial literacy programs here. We deliver presentations on financial education to first-year seminars, and we also offer financial coaching to students who have any questions about personal finance and anything having to do with credit or budgeting, etc. So without further ado, we're just going to get into a presentation. So let me share my screen. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so here's our agenda. First agenda is reading your paycheck, creating a budget, and credit basics. Okay, so understanding your paycheck. So here you see a pretty typical paper paycheck. You may not be receiving a paper paycheck. We do have the option of having direct deposit, and you can also see all of this in Workday. We do use Workday, so you'll be able to see all of this by logging into Workday. The top part of here of this is the paper paycheck itself, and the bottom part is the pay stub. Pay stub is everything that you can see in Workday. It'll have all the personal information, employer information, which is A&M San Antonio, and then you have all of the deductions there on the bottom right. So what do you think every section means? I mean, if I was there actually talking to you, I would ask you, what do you think every section means? But I'm just going to tell you what every section means. So on the check itself, we have on the top left, we have the employer name because they're the ones who are cutting the check for you. And then we have other parts of the check. We have the payee, that would be you. And on the bottom part of the check, we have the check number. We have the routing number of the bank, which would be A&M's bank. And then we have the bank's, their account number, which is the next part of all those little numbers at the bottom. So that's how you would read a check. Also, the amount that they're paying you would be on the right over there. And then whoever authorized the payment would be on the signature. There you go. So that's how you would read the check. And then on the bottom, we have the personal information there on the left. We have the earnings over on the right. So that's your regular hours, how many hours that you worked, your year-to-date hours, how many hours you've worked year-to-date, and then how much that was the amount they're paying you, your year-to-date amount that they paid you. Now on the bottom, here's the employee info, filing status. So we're a state employee, employer, and then we have all the taxes, all the deductions at the bottom there, and the pay periods. And all of our student workers are bi-weekly students, student employees. So that would be listed on there as well. Important to know gross income versus net income. So your take-home pay isn't going to be just your hours times your pay. So if you're making, let's say $10 an hour, you can't just say I worked $19. I worked 19 hours this week, and I get $10 an hour, so I should get $190. Okay, that doesn't work because your net income is going to remove deductions. So always keep that in mind, that you will have deductions no matter what job you are working. As long as you're an employee, you will have these kind of deductions, and you have to look at your net and think about those things. Okay, so what kind of deductions might you have? So we are in Texas, so keep in mind that not all of these things are going to apply to you in Texas, but we have federal income tax. We don't have state income tax, Social Security and Medicare. And your employer also pays taxes, so don't worry. They don't have to, they're not getting out of here, right? But yes, just keep in mind that these things have to get paid. These things have to get paid. We are paying into these taxes. So. All right, benefits deductions. Now, if you are a part-time student employee, you may not be paying into these benefits, but when you do get a career that is full-time and is going to be paying you benefits, you will want to look into these things. So you might be paying into your health insurance plan. Maybe that's going to look like, like $30 a month or something like that to pay into your health insurance. And normally health insurance is like $200 a month or something like that, maybe sometimes more. Depends on if you have a family or not. Life insurance is another thing that you can choose, opt into. Also retirement plans. So these are things that you can pay into and can be deducted from your paychecks. May not be right now, but these are things that can also be deducted from your paychecks. Next, we're going to talk about credit. Also, one last note from this. I'm sure HR, who you have the ability to talk to during this HR section, would be happy to talk to you about any of these things for your future. Okay, now credit. Credit can be a tricky thing for some people. It's kind of nebulous, and the credit system is a little scary sometimes. So let's talk about it. Agenda. What is credit? What are credit scores? What is a credit report? What are the bureaus? How is it calculated, right? Also, I wanted to mention that if you have any questions about these things, please feel free to contact the Maze Center or Money Coach. Money Coaches are at the Maze Center, and ask away. I'm happy to help. Okay, what is credit? What comes to mind when you think about credit? Maybe it's buying a new car. Maybe it's getting a credit card. Maybe it's securing a mortgage. Maybe it's getting a credit check when you get an apartment. Who knows? But let's look into this. So credit determines your ability to borrow money, how much money you can get from a lender, and at what rate you're going to have to pay back your loan. Because when lenders give you money, they're making money off of it. So they're going to charge you interest when they are lending you that money. So what rate are they going to charge you interest, though? That is just going to depend on your credit history. What influences this? Your credit history and your credit score, which are very related to each other. What's a credit score? So this is a scale that we have. It goes from 300 to 850. So 300 to 629 is considered bad. 630 to 689 considered fair. 690 to 719 good. 720 to 850 is considered excellent. And you'll find some other scoring models that look a little bit different, but in general, this is fairly straightforward. So this is what that looks like. So a credit score is a 3-digit number that's going to tell those lenders how likely you are to repay your loans. And it's kind of an estimate because, I mean, they don't really know how likely you are to pay back your loans. Some of it's about giving people a chance, right? The credit score is made up of information that comes from your credit report. It's not the same thing as a credit report because this is just a score. This is just a number. It's not the same thing as your transcript. This is like this is your grade point average, okay? And the credit report is your transcript. So this is just like, okay, I need to know what your GPA was. And then somebody else says, okay, I just need to see I want to see your full transcript. That's the difference between a credit score and your full credit report. Hope that makes sense. Okay, here's your credit report. Documents can include information regarding foreclosures, bankruptcies, loans outstanding, payment history. It's going to include everything that you did with other banks, anything that you did with, like, if you had a credit card, if you opened any credit card, if your parents took out any credit cards in your name, anything that was done in your name that hasn't been removed because of fraud or something like that, anything that was done in your name will be on your credit report. when lenders want to know what your credit report or your credit score, the credit bureaus will provide them with this information. So that is a credit report. Like I said, it's your transcript. Your transcript has every single class you ever took, right? Unless you got one removed, right? So that's like if you say that there was fraud on your credit report, you can tell that credit bureau, hey, this wasn't me, and they'll have it removed. Same thing. Okay. So yeah, that's a credit report. If on the credit report, if you have missed payments or something like that, it'll show like a little block of almost like a calendar, and it'll be like you were 30 days late on here, or you were 60 days late on here, or something like that. It'll show something like that. But otherwise, it lists each line item, each lender. Like if you had a car note or something like that, and you're like, okay, so I bought a car from Toyota or something like that. So it'll say like Toyota blah blah blah, and it'll say good standing or whatever, and that'll be a plus on your credit report because you are in good standing with them. And if you have something from like maybe you have a Discover card or something like that, and you haven't paid it recently, and you're like 30 days behind or 60 days behind or something like that, it'll show up as like 60 days behind. It'll have a little 60 on there or whatever. So these things will come up. Okay. What's the difference between a credit report and a credit score? So the information from the credit report helps determine the credit score, but the score is just the number. The credit report is a comprehensive list, right? So that's like everything you've ever done with your credit. And the credit report has everything on there and your payment history, and the report can be several pages long. It just depends on how much stuff you've done. And the score is just the number, right? It's like your GPA. Okay, so now we're going to talk about credit bureaus. Those are those places that report everything, that will get the reports. So these are the agencies that store the information that the lenders report to. So if you have a credit card and you've been paying everything on time, they're going to report to the credit bureaus. And the credit bureaus are going to save all that information forever. So all this information is going to be available on your credit report. So these big three agencies, so these are the ones that store your credit reports. Those include TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now, a word about these is that your scores and actually your credit reports from these three agencies might look different. The reason for that is that the lenders don't always report to all three. Now, some lenders will report to all three and will actually advertise that. So if you're trying to build your credit, you can look for, say, like a credit card or whatever you're looking for, who actually advertises that they report to all three credit bureaus. And I'm not trying to advertise these folks or anything like that, but I believe it's Capital One will actually report to all three credit bureaus, so that you can have all three of them getting your good standing reports so that you can boost your credit. That is not a plug for Capital One. That is just information so that you can look into what you want. So anyway, bureaus sell and distribute the information on your credit report. Yeah, so you may find when you're looking at your credit reports and your credit scores that they all look pretty different. You can ask the credit bureaus to update their information based on what is contained on the others as well. I've done that as well. But it can be pretty frustrating sometimes when they're like 80 points apart. Okay, scoring your credit. So FICO is one of the most common, well, it is the most common credit scoring model. There are a bunch of ways that FICO uses their credit scoring. So they have like FICO 1, FICO 2, all the way to FICO 11 and FICO 10T. They have so many different models. But this is the way that they break down their percentages. So payment history is 35%. And that's just like, have you been paying on time, basically. 30% is amounts owed. 15% is your length of credit history. It's like, how long have we known you? 10% is credit mix. It's like, I can handle all of these different things. 10% is new credit. It's like, I haven't tried to open a bunch of new accounts. So this is FICO's basic breakdown of their credit scores. Okay, so we have the payment history breakdown. Okay, are you paying those bills on time? Do you have any bankruptcies or anything in collections? If so, it's going to just ding your credit. It's going to like lower that credit score and show up on your credit report. It's going to take a little bit more time and effort to raise your credit score if you do have a bankruptcy or anything in collections. It takes a while for them to raise after you've had something like that on there. Okay, next we have the amounts owed. How much of your credit, available credit, are you using? Low utilization is going to help your credit score. So if you have like revolving credit, which means credit cards, it's really helpful to keep your utilization below 30. And that means on each card and also across the board. So if you have like one card and your total credit line is $1,000, you want to keep that one card below $300 and also pay it off at the end of the month. And then you also want to, across all of your cards, if you have like multiple, like total, keep things under 30%. So per individual item and across. So total and individual below 30%. So that's amounts owed. Okay, next is length of credit history. That's 15%. How long have you had an account and the average age of all accounts? This just goes back to like the idea that we want to know who you are. And it's like if you have one friend who you've known like a really long time and they ask you, hey, can I borrow your car? And you're like, you're really trustworthy and I know that you can handle borrowing my car. And you have another friend that you really just met. They're like a very new person in your life and you have no idea if you can trust them, if they're trustworthy with something like your car. So like, which one would you choose? Which one would you choose? It's like trust and like this history that you've built with somebody, right? So it's kind of similar, only one's much more personal story, right? Okay, so that is length of credit history. It's a history. Okay, next, new credit. So number of inquiries that you've made lately. These inquiries will stay on your credit for about a year. If you make several inquiries all at once, then these will look bad on your credit, your credit report. So just be careful that you're not trying to open a bunch of accounts all at one time, because that will be 10% of your score. Oh, about that though, there are some exceptions. Like if you're trying to secure a mortgage and you want to try to find a lender for your mortgage, there is a grace period for that. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can contact somebody who knows about those things. So like if you contact a lender or if you like a mortgage lender, or if you want to talk to a money coach or something like that, there are grace periods. You could probably look it up on Google as well. think it's within a couple of days to a week. Okay. Credit mix, 10%. So this is basically telling credit bureaus, hey, I can handle a multitude of different types of responsibilities, basically, and I'm really good at these things. I can do this. I have a loan, I have a car loan, I have a credit card, I have like a mortgage. I have all these different things, and I'm still paying on time because I'm a responsible individual. So it looks good. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and get a mortgage or a car loan or a credit card. It doesn't mean that you have to do these things. It's just, it looks good to have different types if that's something that makes financial sense for you to do. Don't just go out and get a loan if you don't need it. That's also not financially responsible. Okay, next we're going to look at budgeting. We're going to look at why do we want a budget, steps to create a budget. We're going to do an activity, and then we're going to summarize. What is budgeting? Budgeting is just creating a plan for your money. Components for a budget are making sure that your goals are in line with your values. We're going to list our expenses, and we're going to figure out how to stick with it. First, we're going to understand our values, and then with our values in mind, we're going to set our goals. We're going to determine our number, which is basically a list of our obligations totaled up, and we're going to determine what our needs versus our wants are. We're going to try to eliminate some expenses. What are your values? Let's find out. So this is a list of personal core values. I would like for you to take a look at these and pick out 3 of them. You can go ahead and pause this video and just pick 3 of these out. I'll just be frozen. Okay, so now that you've selected 3 of these personal core values, I would like you to think about several purchases that you have made in the past month. Go ahead and pause again. Okay, now when you have those purchases, which of those purchases did you feel good about and which did you feel bad about? And if you felt good or bad about them, think about whether or not these purchases were in line with the personal core values that you just identified with this list. So if you did feel like they were in line with your personal core values, maybe that's something that will make sense for you when you are creating your budgets and your goals in the future. One thing that we can do in the future when we are doing these things is try to live a more value-driven life. And when we have a budget, when we have goals, when we have SMART goals, these SMART goals are usually in line with what we want out of life. These budgets, etc., instead of shaming ourselves when we feel like we aren't so disciplined, when we aren't so like strict with ourselves and things like that, we have to think, is this in line with what I see for myself in my dreams, my life dreams? And these life dreams are probably in line with your personal core values. So instead of having a shame-driven life, we want to have a value-driven life. So I would encourage you to try to take these personal core values and move ahead with them. Moving on, with our values in mind, we're going to set some goals. What are you trying to achieve with your budget? What's a good way to set your goals? We're going to use SMART goals. So an example, say $50 a month. So it's specific, that's the S. It's measurable, because if it's $50 in a month, you can easily divide that by 31 or 30, whatever, and have $1.61 per day. It's attainable. Is it attainable? Have we reached similar milestones before? If we haven't, then it might not be attainable. But if it is, then maybe so. Relevant. Is it relevant to you? Think about your values. Want to make sure that it's in line with your values. Otherwise, you may not be able to stick with it. Like if I wanted to just be, if I wanted my SMART goal to be like, I'm going to buy a Lamborghini. Like A, I could never do that because I'm not wealthy. B, it's just not in line with my values. There's no reason for me to buy a Lamborghini. I drive a Subaru. Time-based. Have a start and an end date. You want it to be time-based so that you know when you're going to be finished. Next, list recurring and non-recurring expenses. Okay, so we're going to list expenses. What things are going to be recurring and what's non-recurring? So obviously, wherever you're going to live, like that's going to be some kind of expense that's going to be repeating. You have to do that every month, right? What can you think of that's recurring? You got to eat. You got to pay for. You got to pay for gas. You got to pay for whatever your transportation is. You got to pay for everything that involves in your housing and like living expenses, right? Those things are going to be recurring. What's not recurring? All these fun things. Sure. Okay. So let's look at the recurring expenses. Groceries, gas, utilities, car payment, insurance, food, shopping, transportation, travel, gaming, etc. We threw a little fun stuff in there. Okay, so we have all those. Now let's determine the number. These are going to be obligations. Obligations, what do you think those are going to be? So we have utilities, gas, car payment, groceries, insurance. Some of you may have mortgage. Some of you may have rent payments. There you go. This is some numbers. $750. We came up with $750. Okay, so that's our number. That's going to be your number. So whatever your number is of your obligation, that's going to be your number. That's the number you got to make for every month. Revisiting our other expenses. From your expenses, which are needs versus wants? And then ask yourself, what fits your values? Last, what could be reduced without drastically affecting you? Then we're going to eliminate unnecessary spending. Understand your core values. Eliminate multiple credit cards if you have them. Consolidate your debt. Pay with cash. And if you have recurring expenses, like if you're not watching Hulu and you're paying for Hulu, if you're not watching Disney Plus, but you're paying for Disney Plus, if you have like some boxes that keep getting delivered to your house, but you're not using that Ipsy, you're not using that Bark Box, you're not using those things, but you keep getting those deliveries, maybe decide to cancel those things. Just try to eliminate some of that unnecessary spending. So we've done everything on this budget agenda. Okay, last thing, let's talk about the resources at the May Center. I hope you come visit us sometime. We have the Career Center here. You can come get your resume looked at and spruced up. You can practice your interviewing skills. You can come have a one-on-one with a money coach, and you can learn more about internship grants so that you can get your internship unpaid or underpaid funded. So come see us, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by. Take care.